Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. The crowds heard of this and followed him on foot from their towns. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place, and it is already late. Dismiss the crowds so they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "There is no need for them to go away. Give them some food yourselves." But they said to him, 5 loaves and 2 fish are all we have here." Then he said, "Bring them here to me." And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up the fragments left over, 12 wicker baskets full. Those who ate were about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
Recently, it seems, there's been a lot of depressing news and events in the world around us and in our own community. A lot of sadness. And whether those events are very close to us or as far away as Norway, they can still take their toll. Now, all of us will react differently to sorrow and grief, but many of us would want to do exactly what Jesus did. We'd want to go off and be alone, to be by ourselves in a quiet place, where we can grieve and mourn, where we can remember and reflect. We want to go to a place where we can process and we can pray. When Jesus had heard that John the Baptist died, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. Now, Jesus and John the Baptist had a lot of history together. And so his death touched Jesus' heart greatly. First of all, they were cousins, so Jesus had lost a family member. But more importantly, Jesus and John the Baptist shared in a common mission, a sacred mission for the kingdom of God. So their bond went very, very deep. And Jesus grieved. And so with a sorrowful heart and a lot on his mind, Jesus goes away to be alone, to have time to reflect and pray at this crucial and painful time. And it's in moments like this that we can see the humanity of Jesus. Our God was also a man who knows what it means to be human, to suffer, and to feel the weight of things. And that's why that we can always pour our hearts out to Jesus, and we will know that he understands our needs and our pains and our sorrows. And so when the people saw Jesus leave, they followed after him. They ran around the lake and met him when he disembarked. They flocked around him and begged him for words of wisdom and for healing. And what does Jesus say? "Go away, I want to be alone"? No. He is moved with compassion, and he puts his personal needs and his cares and his grief aside and attends to the needs of the crowd, and he offers them teaching and healing. He responds to them out of deep love. And as St. Paul says, what will separate us from the love of Christ? Nothing. Nothing at all. Not even Jesus having a bad day. God's love comes first, it surpasses all things, and it's freely and abundantly given to us. As the first reading says so beautifully, all you who are thirsty, come to the water. Come without pay and without cost. Drink wine and milk. What the prophet is saying is that God will take care of all of our needs. Not many of us are longing for water or for milk or for grain. But to the people of that time, they really needed those things. Those things were essential for their very lives. So God is inviting us to come and receive what we need, what is essential for our lives. Whatever that may be, all we have to do is to come and to ask. And that's what the people did in our gospel story. They ran around the lake to place their needs in front of Jesus. And Jesus didn't only take care of their spiritual needs with his words of wisdom and his healing. He took care of their bodily needs. He fed them with fish and with bread. Now, many of us understand this miracle where Jesus multiplied a small amount of food to feed the vast crowds. And we can see the miracle in that. But let us not miss the point. Jesus knows what we need. He knew how many people were there. And Jesus being Jesus, I'm sure he could have made it come out that there was exactly enough bread and exactly enough fish for everybody to be satisfied. But there were leftovers. So that tells us that Jesus understands what we need, but he is so willing to give us that much and then so much more. We should never underestimate the lengths that God will go to show his love for us. So while we know a lot from this gospel story, we also know that we don't have to chase Jesus around the lake to put our needs before him. We can do that right here. We can place our needs before Jesus on the altar. If you're overwhelmed by the stress and the distress of our world, place it on the altar. If you're grieving a loss, place it on the altar. If you're struggling with doubt and need guidance or wisdom, or if you are simply looking for more peace in your lives, place your requests on the altar and then trust in Jesus' love. A love that is so great that Jesus put aside his personal grief and his personal needs to take care of ours. A love so great that Jesus would put his very life in place of ours. So, then all we do is come and receive. Receive him who hears all our needs. Receive him that because he was human, understands our sorrows and our pains. Receive him that loves us abundantly and to excess, where we can find healing, consolation, and peace.